Michal Dec, Senior Technical Product Manager out of our Gdansk office in Poland. Welcome to the Performance Clinic.
Hello, thank you for the introduction.
Awesome. So, Michael, I don't want to, or Michal, I don't want to, use too much of the time. Just want to remind people, if you watch this offline, either on YouTube or on Dynatrace University, then you can get access to Dynatrace in case you don't have access to Dynatrace yet by just signing up for a trial. There's also a list of recordings of this and obviously other sessions either on the Dynatrace University or on the YouTube playlist where you found this. Also a shameless plug to some of my other work that I'm doing. I have a podcast with my colleague Brian Wilson. It's called Pure Performance, and you can listen to that on your favorite podcast app, or you can just click on that link on the bottom, the bit.ly Pure Perf, and you can also find it online. Now, if you have any questions live, use the question feature and go to webinar. If you have questions later on, if you watch this offline, go to answers.dynatrace.com. That's our discussion forum where you get direct access to the full Dynatrace community and ecosystem. Now, without further ado now, Michal, I will give it over to you. Enlighten us about the Oracle Database Insights monitoring. I will cut my video now because I think you are the focal point. And exactly, and I will come back later with questions when questions come in. And I'll talk to you later.
Okay, thank you, Andreas, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Michal Dec. I'm Senior Technical Product Manager in Dynatrace in Gdansk R&D Lab. So I'm more than happy to give you a quick introduction to our recent functionality that was introduced in the early adopter stage, Oracle Database Insights Monitoring. So let me switch to the presentation. This will be a very dynamic presentation, not done only with the slides, but I will try to do a lot of examples real time in our demo environment, a demo environment that you can also later on can be accessed. Okay. So before moving forward with Oracle Database Insights Monitoring and demoing this, I would like to start with the introduction about Dynatrace capabilities around database monitoring. It's really important how we are enhancing the Dynatrace monitoring with Oracle Database Insights. And Oracle is our first database engine we are supporting. Next will come in the following months. And let me start with the basic concept of Dynatrace, which is OneAgent. Most of you are probably familiar with. This is one component that you deploy on your host, deploy on your infrastructure, and it's capable for detecting all important processes. It's responsible for instrumenting your app, if of course the technology is supported, but it's Java-based application, .NET, Node.js, PHP, and of course it instruments the application, but it also detects all important processes running on specific host where you installed the OneAgent. And of course, this is the very first touch point also for database monitoring. So we support many different database frameworks used by your applications, by programmers to access databases. All of these details can be found on our help center, so you can easily figure out if the technology stack you are using is supported by Dynatrace. In most cases, you will find that we fully support specific drivers. So the story of Dynatrace, our monitoring databases starts here. This is the best approach. Once you deploy the OneAgent on the host with the data, with the app running and handling user requests, you will get very quickly, in the matter of minutes, the insights into database calls that are being executed by specific services, specific apps. So this is how it starts. With only this setup, you will see a lot about outgoing queries, which services are executing these queries, how long the response takes, how many, what is the failure rate, which services are calling specific database, because this is very standard scenario that one database instance might be called by different services. So without any configuration, it's extremely important. This is the power of Dynatrace OneAgent, that the configuration is almost zero. Yeah, so all you have to do is deploy OneAgent on your host. So you get deep understanding of SQL calls or database calls being executed by a specific service. But what's really important is that you don't only see the what's under the hood, but you see also with Dynatrace capability, with also JavaScript monitoring, with the real user monitoring capabilities, you can easily see the end-to-end flow of your users, of the sessions they are starting, and you can easily backtrace exactly which customer, which user is using your product, and from which session the specific calls, requests are coming from. So that's something where Dynatrace provides a lot of insights for pretty long time. The next important thing and next enhancements for our customers is a situation when you can deploy OneAgent on your data. So of course this works for the scenario where you have access to your database host. So this is not a scenario for the database as a service setup, AWS, Azure. So if this is a on-prem setup, you deploy OneAgent in cloud infra mode only, and OneAgent dynamically detects all database-related processes and brings additional layer of data, of insights for you from the host level perspective. So would really recommend in the whole scenario, in the whole pipeline, to deploy OneAgent on the database host. That's not required for DB Insights to work. However, this is very important enhancement. And that's the situation that you had, that you could profit from before introducing the database. We very quickly recognize and understand the customer feedback that they would love to have a deeper understanding of what's really happening on the database level. Because in this scenario, we deliver our customers a lot of insights. However, the database behavior, it's kind of black hole. So basically, we see only end-to-end transaction. We see when the request is being executed through the JDBC connection and when it comes back. And of course, we analyze if the response, if the request was successful. However, our customers would like to better understand why specific statements failed. If this was a network problem, or maybe there is a problem with the database itself. If there's a problem with long-running queries, so imagine a situation that my set of queries executed pretty well, and for some reason they started to lag. So something takes 1 second to execute, and right now it's 10 seconds or even minutes. You can easily figure out if this is not a connectivity problem. So in many cases, the problem is inside the database. And what we would want to deliver with database insights for Oracle, starting with the Oracle engine, is another level of monitoring. So that's exactly what we are trying to achieve with database insights. This is high-level overview how we are approaching the topic and how we are approaching the topic of database monitoring with Dynatrace.
Hey, Michal, can I ask a quick question, because the first question just came in?
Yep.
And I think it's from an experienced Dynatrace user. The question was on the Oracle Insights. Are we capturing the full SQL statement from the database, or are we showing a truncated version? Like it's the case if the OneAgent captures the SQL, we are truncating it at some point.
So I think there is no hard limits on the SQL statement sentence, basically because in the future we want to allow our customers to easily join the queries they see from the perspective of the service, from the perspective of the app, with the level of the database insights. So right now there's no limitation on this on the Oracle Database Insights side.
Cool, and I know you go into more detail, but we actually also capture, well, I'm not sure what it's called, the statement ID or the execution ID. So we can actually, we show you, with this ID, you can really go then back into even the database and then really validate and look up all the details. Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for the question. So let's move forward and a few words about the database monitoring, code level application monitoring, what I already described. So for this situation, the OneAgent in full stack mode needs to be deployed on the host with the application. There's no additional configuration required, and it works for all supported languages and database frameworks. For more details, please refer to our help documentation. There is a huge matrix of supported database libraries, frameworks, and drivers for every specific language. So with this one, and most of you are probably familiar with this, but for new people that are rather new with Dynatrace, would like to learn a little bit more. Code level application monitoring, deep monitoring, we instrument your code. It works a little bit different way for specific languages. However, first of all, we auto-detect. No configuration is required on your side. So OneAgent will recognize all database calls from application perspective. You can see which applications use your database. You can get detailed metrics for each database statement. And based on this, you can try to find expensive statements and understand why some statements are slower or become slower. And of course, what's really important that the statements, their performance is analyzed by our Davis AR root cause analysis engine. So whenever there is a problem spotted on a specific service, whenever we see there is degradation on the time of response, or there is a failure rate increase, our Davis AI engine will try to figure out what's exactly the reason for this problem. And of course, it analyzes all the dependencies, trying to figure out which services will call it, go down into stack trace of all the calls, and it can also easily analyze the performance of specific queries. So for this, you will get a lot of insights if the reason for your front user performance degradation is caused by degradation on the database level. You will get even the exact SQL statement that started to slow down. So that's extremely powerful enhancements for code level application monitoring. So let me do a quick demo for you regarding code level database monitoring. So I will switch to our demo environment. I think that you are familiar with this view. So the very first touch point for you, if you already deploy the OneAgent on specific, of course, you do this from the deployment view. You do this from the deployment view, and then you navigate back to the database. And here we create the list of all detected database services. You can easily navigate here. You can easily filter by specific database vendor. So let me drill down to, let's say, Oracle database. And you can quickly see the services recognized by OneAgent. And so that's a perfect example of the database service. Yeah, we are referring to Oracle engine. We detected Oracle. We see all the services that are calling this database. We can easily navigate to We can easily navigate to all the database statements, drill down into this, and analyze the whole backtrace. Of course, you can navigate also back to service that it's calling the specific database instance. So here we have our authentication service. This is our Easy Travel demo app, and you can also see easily what is calling the specific database. So let me do the quick demo of. Let's look on the this one. We see the state operations done. We can easily navigate the level of the pure path if you want to analyze specific statements, if you want even to analyze backtrace or see the specific statement. Okay. So another one, what I already mentioned, is database host monitoring. So if you deploy OneAgent in cloud infrastructure mode on the host running the database engine, database server, you'll get a lot of instances about CPU consumption, memory, network monitoring on host and process level. As I mentioned, this doesn't work for the database as a service. And what's really important for the Oracle database, because we will switch and focus on the Oracle database engine in a few minutes. Two most important processes, I will do also demo in a few minutes. It's Oracle listener process that acts as a kind of proxy and translating the service name to the seed ID of specific database instance, and the specific Oracle database instance process. So going back to the view, let me look for once again for the Oracle. And we see that this Oracle database instance runs on this host. And we see a lot additional info about the CPU consumption. We see all the processes here are listed, most important processes for you. Okay. Additional thing that Dynatrace deliver, it's the OneAgent plugins. We have plenty of OneAgent plugins that are pre-configured for you and work out of the box. So whenever it detects specific database process, we support a specific number of technologies. There is a Microsoft SQL Server, PostgreSQL, CouchDB, Cassandra, to mention a few, and it starts to monitor this out of the box. For more data on this, please also check our help documentation. For this, we use different approaches depending on the specific database engine. It works a little bit different for SQL Server, for the Cassandra. Let me do a demo for you on our environment. So we have configured SQL Server on one of the hosts, and I will show you additional metrics we collect thanks to this integration. Okay, here's the process I would like to show to you. This is Microsoft SQL Server, and thanks to this plugin capabilities, we see a lot of additional database-related metrics like logs, like memory usage, and on the screen before this on the main screen, some additional SQL metrics like user connection, transaction, compilations, and recompilations. So Dynatrace capabilities regarding the database monitoring comes with a pretty huge power. So there is a monitoring on the application level, there's monitoring on the host level. We already have set of plugins, but we see room for improvement, and that's why we start working on database insights to get you additional level of intelligence around your persistence layers. And what's really important that with huge capabilities of Dynatrace, with the end-to-end tracing of customer requests, with the topology mapping and calls mapping between different services, we add additional layer that understand this topology that allows you to drill down from the real user monitoring, from the request on the browser level down to the database level, to pinpoint exact root cause of the problem. So for the Oracle Database Insights, which is on early adopter phase, open for everyone, it adds another perspective to your database monitoring. What is really important that for now it's the pricing model, it's not defined, so it's free of charge for now. How it works. So long story short, database insights require the ActiveGate, environment ActiveGate, to be set up by our customers, of course in the specific version, starting with the 1.7.3 version of ActiveGate. Of course, the Dynatrace server needs to be also in the specific configuration. You have to configure, you have to ask your database administrators to configure a proper database user for Dynatrace to access a specific set of views. Everything is well documented on our help portal, so this shouldn't be a problem for you. What is also really important that communication, there must be network communication between ActiveGate and Oracle server on, of course, specific port, because ActiveGate will pull a lot of important metrics from Oracle server through JDBC connection. That's why you need to accept a licensing agreement for the Oracle JDBC driver. Dynatrace will pull a lot of data through the JDBC connection, and it's of course important to have the communication open between ActiveGate and Oracle server. So let me quickly show you how you can navigate to the configuration. For the ActiveGate, I will assume that you already have ActiveGate deployed in your site, but if not, please navigate to the deployment status. Here I already have Dynatrace ActiveGate deployed, that it's used to monitor our instance. If now, please navigate to the deploy Dynatrace, and then you can easily install, depending on your machine, set up a specific ActiveGate. This is hassle-free. It's a very quick work out of the box. Once you are done with this, you also need to make sure that a specific flag is set up in configuration file of ActiveGates, so everything is documented in the help. So once you have this done, to make sure that everything works correctly, you can navigate to the deployment status, and you will see easily all ActiveGates. This is my demo environment, so I have plenty of ActiveGates here. Let me filter by which one is executing database insights queries. So take exactly this one. I can see that the database insights is active on this ActiveGate version. So I will move forward to the quick setup. So this can be achieved from the settings. And if you scroll down a little bit, you will see database insights Oracle with the early adopter tag. I have already one setup done. To add additional configuration, all I have to do is provide host, port, by default it's 1521, database ID, user and password, the one I had to configure, and the name for the configuration, and of course I need to accept the whole the JDBC drive. When it's done properly, if we successfully connect to the Oracle database instance, you will quickly see additional metrics coming to Dynatrace. If there's problem with, we struggle with the authenticated, maybe there's a communication problem. After adding the database confirming on this screen, you will get the error message in a few minutes. So basically, we'll also get, in case the Oracle responds with the error code, the proper error code will be displayed here. So basically, this will allow you to troubleshoot the problem. If it's on the connection layer, if it's with the authentication, or maybe the database instance identifier is not existing on the specific host. So this should allow customers to pinpoint the configuration issue. So once you have the setup done, you will quickly see additional data coming to Dynatrace. So here's the good moment to describe two basic setup scenarios. So as I described, it have OneAgent deployed on the database host, or maybe you don't want, because of some reasons, to deploy the OneAgent on database host. We strongly encourage you to do this, as it brings additional metrics for Dynatrace to root cause problems. It can be deployed in cloud infra mode. In case if the OneAgent is not deployed on the database host, the Dynatrace will create the custom device entity and start pushing all the metrics to this custom device. For the scenario with OneAgent, I will do demo for the scenario with the OneAgent. The database insights metrics will be complemented with the host metrics collected by OneAgent. And the OS level based monitoring will create a process group from which you will be able to drill down to individual database. So few slides about most important database capable for switching to the browser to the demo. So first of all, we collect additional metrics from the $, SQL dynamic views. We collect the info about specific buffer cache hits, about memory metrics, about the table space metric. But what's most important, we collect the most time-consuming Oracle statements for you, and we persist this data so we can analyze the how historically specific statements change, or how the behavior of your database instance changed, and what was the reason for this. Additional thing for our customers, ability to download the execution plan directly from the browser. This is for the most recent execution plans, and can be utilized for troubleshoot or to understand of your queries. So that's how the view for the Oracle, the most time-consuming Oracle statement looks like. We provide you with the view of the top SQL statements. Additional data is stored on the details level, when you can see nice-looking graph, or for the performance details, for the weights details, and execution. And as I mentioned, download execution plans. Of course, all of these metrics might be used to do the charts, to create the dashboards, to have a single place to understand how your database is performing. Okay, so let's do a little bit longer session on database insights. I will do the demo for the setup OneAgent. So this is the configuration where I've deployed already OneAgent on the database host. And I connected database insights to this host. So to discover this, please navigate to the technologies. You will see Oracle database brick here on this overview. And as I mentioned, we discovered two processes for you. One is the Oracle database process. One is Oracle Listener. Here we see the groups because Dynatrace groups similar processes into groups for our customers to make sure that they can easily see what's happening. So in this setup, I have only one Oracle database process group. And that's exactly the view of the PGI of the process group instance that is part of the specific group. So here we can see, and again, this is the scenario for the OneAgent deployed. So, well, if I navigate to the host with this Oracle database process running, I can see that we have OneAgent deployed on this host. So let me go back to the Oracle database process. Yeah, so this data comes from the OneAgent for the specific process. We see how much the Oracle database process is consuming. So here we see process memory consumption from the host perspective, but also from the process perspective. This data is delivered by OneAgent monitoring. And if we move forward to the Oracle tab, you will see all the data gathered, pulled from the database server through JDBC connection. These are the metrics collected on the database insights level. So of course here the most important view is total user calls, active sessions. We can also see CPU breakdown detected by Oracle server. We can see metrics related to the disk, to the buffer cache hit, source, and memory. The same for the program global allocation memory, service global allocation memory. So these are already things that are delivered by Database Insights. One of the most important part of the Database Insights functionality is most time-consuming Oracle statements. So to have this, just navigate to this window. Yeah. And here you can see all the most time-consuming regarding elapsed time statements that we pull every 5 minutes from the database perspective. So important note for the metrics I explained a few seconds ago. Let me go back to the screen. So this additional metrics pulled from Oracle DB server are pulled every 1 minute, while for the top SQL statements, the data is pulled every five minutes. So this is the constraint we have in the current scope of the database insights. Might change in the future. So here's a view that shows you the statements regard for the specific time frame. So if I move to the last six hour, let me show values calculated over whole time frame. So not the view for current view, but for the whole 6 hours. And we see exactly which statements are most time consuming. So of course I can order by specific column. I see that this statement was executed more than 30,000 times, and total elapsed time was more than 1 minute. We see a SQL ID here. We see the schema. So I can also filter by specific schema if I want to drill down on my view or limit it a little bit. And of course, for every statement you see, you will get the details and historical time series regarding specific metrics. So here I see elapsed time with execution count, with the CPU time and wait time. I can navigate to the waits chart, to the execution, to see all additional data about this specific query. Also from this place, you can download a lattice execution plan. For now, this is the plain text file that we grab from the database layer. Okay, here we go. So right now it works in a few seconds, and there's no additional communication necessary to be done between your database administrator. You can easily get from the level of the Dynatrace the server the view on the execution plan. Okay, and moving forward, let me switch to the custom chart capabilities. So here for the custom charts, all of this data might be used to create custom charts. Okay, so let's start filtering by name of the metric. So custom chart view have this nice capability that once you start typing, we will quickly find the specific metric that fits your search criteria. So for the Oracle DB, again, this is the setup with the OneAgent deployed, so PGI is recognized. If you configure the database insights for the database server without OneAgent deployed on the host, here you will have to navigate to the custom device level. And here are all different metrics I show you in a previous screen. So let's, yeah, it's a nice looking graph for the total wait time for the specific Oracle database instance. Okay, of course I can play a little bit with this graph. I can save it. I can change the time frame. I can pin this to the dashboard. So all of this can be used in the dashboarding context. Okay, so let me do also get back a little bit to the scenario without the OneAgent. I do not have this scenario on this environment. However, I have this on our internal environment. So in case you configure Oracle database and OneAgent is not deployed on the host, the specific database custom device will be created for you. And here you can see that the source DB agent, our link engine. And here you will see all the metrics I show you on the previous screen with the OneAgent setup, and of course most time-consuming statements. Okay, so let me go back to the presentation mode. So with all of these different metrics, you will get a lot of insights that allow you to drill down and figure out the specific areas of the problematic areas. So here I'll give you only a few examples how some metrics might be used. So if you encounter a low buffer cache hit, it means that database disk is used instead of RAM. If you see abnormal number of sessions, it might mean that there is a third-party connection to the database. Maybe there is a case where not only you or your application is executing queries to database, but maybe there is some operation running or database administrator executed some background job. Of course, if you start analyzing most time-consuming statement view, you might find out queries that are not originating from your from monitored applications. So this might indicate that the specific database instance is utilized not only by your application, so maybe there's application that should be instrumented, or maybe someone else in your organization is utilizing this infrastructure. If you see districts larger than buffer gets, it means that your query needs to be optimized. That maybe there is some missing index issue. The same for the active sessions. If you keep growing, so the view I showed you, here it is. So for the active session, if you see that the number of active sessions keep growing in the time, it means that there is a problem with closing connection and there is a leaking bucket for this. Exactly here, active session. Here it's very, very stable. This is simple scenario with my demo app calling the Oracle Database server. Okay, so that's pretty all I had for you today. One thing that there will be probably some additional questions from your side about the next steps, about support for the next database engines. So we have this on the roadmap. We started with Oracle DB as one of the most popular database engines we see in our customer stack. We had a lot of requests for the support for the database, Oracle database. And next one is Microsoft Server, and the next one will be probably DB2 from the IBM, because these are most popular database engines used by our customers. Of course, once we start working on this and enhancing current capabilities, we'll make sure that it works seamlessly, no matter if you have set up in cloud, if it's from the database service from the Azure or AWS, or if this is an on-prem setup where you, inside your organization, manage the whole database infrastructure. So we want to make sure that once you start migrating with your database infrastructure to cloud, your experience is seamless and you can keep using the Dynatrace Database Insights monitoring. And of course, there are additional enhancements coming, for the topology enhancements, for the AI enhancements, for the API connections. So our customers already mentioned that they have a huge stack of the different services, different database servers that would love to have this configuration automated. So for this, Dynatrace have API ready. So we will be there.
Hey Michal, would you mind turning on the camera again? Exactly, I just sent you a request because earlier I turned it off when you were in the live demo.
Okay, you should see.
There you go. Perfect, I'll see you again. So there's a lot of questions that came in. Before we go into the question, can you do me one more favor? Can you flip back to the slides, the last slide you had open? Just as a reminder, there's a lot, there's a lot of content on there, on the community, on the websites. A lot of events are coming up. Get your own trial, listen to a podcast, and there's a lot of cool things out there. Do me one more favor, go to the next slide. That's really the last one that I have. Exactly. So we are currently on the road with a global Perform tour in different cities around the world. For instance, later this week in Chicago, London is coming up next week, and we already have done parts of this. And I would encourage everyone, check out your local Perform World Tour event, and make sure, if you have a chance, to come to Vegas in 2020. Especially now we changed the model a little bit. We got feedback from our users that the hands-on training days, the hot days, are really well received. That's why we actually have 2 days this year of hot days. Monday and Tuesday are hands-on training days. So make sure you're signing up. It's a great way, and also a great way to get to meet the product management team, right, face to face.
Yeah, I'll be attending Benelux. That's planned for me.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, in Benelux, that's perfect. So, so for folks in Europe, that's a great option to also meet him. Michal, I have a lot of questions that came in, and maybe that's a time actually when they might be easier answered if you actually go into the product, so we can actually look at the individual ones. The first question I will kind of go through in kind of the order that I think makes sense. First of all, a clarification question: which is the version which is the Dynatrace version where Database Insights is part of, that can be enabled?
Okay, so let me go back to the slides, because this was one of the slides. It's 173, just to make sure that's the correct one. Exactly. Okay, so the Dynatrace Server 1.173 and for the ActiveGate, it's also very important to have ActiveGate in the proper version. 1.1773. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think there's also a blog post out there. So I replied to, I think it was Sergey, I replied to him with the link to the blog post where you talked about the insights, the Oracle Database Insights Early Adopter Program, which also explains the step. Yeah. Okay, so 173, that's awesome. The next question that came in, you earlier showed when you click on the view statements here, Right. You basically showed the individual SQL statements and also the SQL ID. Is this something that comes out of the box with that integration, or is this something that you have to specifically enable?
No, it comes out of the box. This is ID given by the Oracle Database engines, so that's not something we are dealing with. So this comes out of the box because we are querying the VDOL SQL area for all of this data. This is dynamic view from the Oracle. It's pretty well documented, and one of the fields we are grabbing from there is this ID of the query.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Then you also said on the metrics side, the database metrics you showed earlier, active sessions, you're querying this information every minute, and then this information here, the list of statements, you're querying that, I believe you said every 5 minutes right now, but that may change in the future.
Exactly. Yes, so there's an open discussion and we get a lot of feedback for this. So we started with the 5 minutes time frame because that's pretty heavy a query and we didn't want to execute this too frequently. We didn't also see the use case scenario from our customer. So most of them say that the 5 minutes is good enough for them. However, yeah, it's something that might change. I cannot do any commitment here, but for now, 5 minutes it's very useful for many scenarios. But yeah, that's really important to understand that here we have for the top statements 5 minute data querying mechanism, for the whole server performance metrics every 1 minute.
Mm-hmm. And then I think you just led into the next question that just came in. You talk about top statements. What does this mean? Is it top 10, top 50, top 100? And if so, is this also configurable overall for the whole database or per schema?
It's no configurable. It's not right now configurable. Yeah, that's another feedback we got from our customers. And for this, every 5 minutes we query 500 statements. However, we calculate the difference only for the top 100 because the view we are querying is the dynamic view. So we need on our side, on Dynatrace side, to calculate the delta. And to make sure that we grab the most of the data, we query 500 metrics, but we display data about only 100 top metrics. So here you will see the view for top 100 most time consuming. So we sort by most time consuming statements. For now, it's not configurable, and for now, this cannot be limited by schema, but very good question, very good feedback. We have this feedback from many different customers, and that also might change in the future.
Perfect, and that's also great. Why, first of all, this is also the reason why we do early adopter programs, to get this early feedback, to make sure that we are progressing in the right direction once we have the final version available. The next question that comes in is a couple of questions actually from different people around the REC support. Is Oracle REC database support on the plan? Yes or no? And if so, any rough estimate?
It is on plan. Right now, our customers can connect the database insights to every single node in the REC. However, this brings kind of limited capabilities. So the timeline for the Oracle REC is the first half of the next calendar year.
Okay, but right now you would be able at least to link to connect to every individual instance within the REC. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. But that brings limited view into RAC performance. So exactly. We understand this, and definitely we will create a solution for this setup.
Next question: how many databases does the plugin currently support? And also, would you configure it per active gate, or will the plugin configuration be automatically load balanced and distributed across multiple active gates in case you have multiple active gates with that module turned on?
So Right now, there's no hard limitation the number of the connected instances. We have done the performance test for this couple thousand of the instances, and for every single connection, we consume very small amount of RAM from the ActiveGate host. So basically, it should be very safe to connect to 500 instances from the one ActiveGate, which has at least 10 gigabytes of RAM. I think that on the help documentation, the requirements regarding ActiveGate are mentioned, how much of the CPU or RAM memory it should have. For now, it's not round robin between the ActiveGates. If we are executing connection from one ActiveGate to many database instances, if for some reasons this ActiveGates stop working or it's shut down, Dynatrace will dynamically switch the database insights functionality to another capable active instance.
Very cool. Another question. Oh yeah, do you want to add something to this? Sorry.
Yeah, I just mentioned about the performance testing on the ActiveGate level to make sure that ActiveGate is capable to handle hundreds of database endpoints. But what's really important, we also tested this on the customer level. Of course, we cannot mimic all different scenarios our customers have. So we done a basic standard setup with the Oracle database with some medium load and tried to figure out what is the performance impact from the database insights perspective. So we understand this, and the performance impacts from the Oracle database perspective is very low. So database insights with all these queries do not impact performance of your database. That's really important, that the way we query, and also that's why we query for the top statements every 5 minutes for now, is to make sure that we do not impact our customers' performance.
Perfect. This was also actually a question from Andrea in the very beginning when Andrea asked about what's the overhead of the OneAgent when installed either on the application server, on the database host, or with the plugin. So I think for all the scenarios that you showed, right, where you said this is what you get with the OneAgent, and this is what you get with the database host, and this is what you get with Database Insights, the overhead is always very minimum. And there's if you don't believe us, believe our customers. There's a lot of testimonials out there where our customers say it's overhead from not noticeable to 1 or 2% maybe, but then it also depends. Most of the overhead, quote unquote overhead that we have, is offloading the data that we capture from within the app over the network to the ActiveGate. So we optimize this over the years to really be as less intrusive as possible, at least intrusive. Andrea also asked another question, but I believe you kind of had it in the initial slide deck. Do you have a side-by-side comparison of the capabilities of this is what the OneAgent delivers on the application side, this is what the database host monitoring provides, and this is what the DB Insights provide? If you have any additional documentation side-by-side comparisons. I mean, I think the deck does a really great job. I'm not sure if you're planning anything in the documentation.
Yeah, definitely the documentation will be enhanced, and also our decks will be we'll put it there. For now, nothing more to comparing to this, but yeah, it's a very good question, very good suggestion for us.
Then another question, the execution plan. So you basically said how you can on demand pull down the execution plan. Is there anything planned? And I remember this question from my old days when we still work with AppOn. Is there an option or something on the plan where we can let Dynatrace execute execution plans on a scheduled basis for certain SQL statements to actually see how the execution plan changes over time?
So yeah, I've heard about this. right now, the current limitation is most recent execution plan, but DevOps engineers would like to compare the execution plans. So I believe this is one of the directions we'll be heading in second half of 2000 once we start supporting additional engines, capability to just pull every 5 minutes the execution plan to allow our customers, our users to compare this. So yeah, this is good, really good enhancement.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Next question. Here it's about if you have the OneAgent installed on your web or application tier, where we see end-to-end transaction, as you saw earlier, from the end user, from the browser, all the way through to the database level. With the OneAgent right now being installed on your application tier, if your application calls a stored procedure, we will basically show the stored procedure, but not the SQL statement behind the stored procedure, obviously. Now, with the database insights, we actually see what's happening within these stored procedures. Now, the question is, because right now these two things are not connected, will there be the capability where we really then connect the stuff that comes in from the end-to-end tracing with the database insights?
So basically, this is our top priority right now, to make sure that there is a connection. It's not always possible to make the one-to-one connection because there are two different data sources, and there might be differences between the how this SQL statement looks like. However, in most cases, we'll try to connect the what you see on the application perspective, so the data from the OneAgent deep monitoring, with what you see on the database perspective. So this is the connection we would like to deliver. So yeah, exactly answering this question, this is one of the most important enhancements we would like to deliver in the first half of the next years for the DB Insights, to have a smooth flow from the web browser perspective, as you mentioned, down to the database level.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And then the last question that I have here right now, and I think you showed it earlier, it's about charting, so custom charts from metrics from DB Insights, and I think you showed this earlier, unless Eric has a different question with custom charted metrics, but you showed earlier that the DB Insights is providing metrics that you can then put on a custom chart, and I think that's pretty, very cool. There you go, PGI, yep.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one is very, very stable, but exactly all of this data can be pulled through custom charting capabilities.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Cool. Hey, we are at the top of the hour. I want to say thank you so much for giving us the overview of the current state of Oracle Database Insights. Everyone can get access to it by joining the early adopter program. Give us feedback, or give you feedback as leading the product team here. And then obviously there's a big list of things we additionally want to do. And the better the feedback, the better for us it is to know where we focus our priorities. Right? I think that's the important thing here.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. And as always, thanks for joining. There will be more clinics coming up. Michal, I will be happy to have you back in a couple of months, where we then talk about an update on where we stand. Maybe around before, maybe early in the year, right? We'll see.
Definitely. I'm more than happy to always attend and help our customers with database monitoring.
Yeah. And then also thanks to Denise, who is always recording and making sure the recordings find it to Dynatrace University, and then also to YouTube. Having that said, thank you so much. Enjoy your evening or the rest of the day. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.